Um, over the last, couple of weeks now, especially in the last 5 or so days, our country, the U.S., has played a leading role in coordinating the global response to this illegal and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. And over this past weekend, we saw a lot of new measures being put into effect. And I've been pushing for, including sanctioning Putin directly, oligarchs, his family, and denying Russian banks access to the SWIFT banking system. So far we've moved in lockstep. The West has, ratcheting up sanctions gradually and by consensus. Do you think there's any risk to this approach? Namely, are there stronger measures that we could be considering right now and even consider unilaterally, if necessary, to put maximum pressure on Vladimir Putin?
Senator, I think the images, I hope I'm wrong, but I think the images we are about to see in the next 24 to 48 hours will dictate that we have to throw everything at it. That's all we can do. We have to now start sanctioning oil and gas, a complete SWIFT. That's all we can do, in addition to providing Ukraine with the defensive capabilities it needs.
Ms. Connolly, let's talk about that for a second. So the remaining banks that have not been removed from the SWIFT banking system, my understanding is, that's largely to be able to do the transactions to move oil and gas out of Russia, and especially gas to European nations. If we were to remove that ability to transfer money to Russia, essentially, in this case, because European nations are purchasing the natural gas, what would that mean for countries in Europe this winter?
Well, it would be devastating. Their energy reserves are very low. I think the only good news is we're coming out of winter, and they've had a warmer winter, and they may have enough supplies. The may part is a question mark. No, what I am saying is this will be enormous sacrifice.
Is the LNG capability there? Can we backfill some of it? I'm not even aware of how many liquefied natural gas ships there are and how many of those are available to be able to try to supply Europe with natural gas.
I don't have numbers either. The good news, bad news. Asia has filled up. They filled up their reserves. There is some spare capacity. Thankfully, Poland, Lithuania, the others were constructing LNG terminals in Croatia. Again, this is something that the U.S., previous administrations have been focusing on, energy diversification. So there are some facilities. But whether this would be enough, and whether we don't direct the molecules, the markets direct those molecules. But yes, this would have to be an heroic effort to ensure that Europe has enough energy to continue to have its economies move.
So would you be in favor of finalizing the ending of access to the SWIFT banking system from those remaining banks?
I think we have to be absolutely prepared to do that.
And do you have any ideas how we might get the Saudis to agree to pump additional crude?
That is a lot of my remit. Maybe Roger has thoughts on that.
I definitely think the Saudis are looking at the negotiations in Vienna, and they want assurances on whatever agreement the administration is dreaming up to have with Iran. And if we're not reliant on Iranian energy oil production and reliant on Saudi production, I'm sure that's something they'd be open to.
And do they have the capacity on the natural gas to backfill what would be lost from Russia?
Saudi?
Yeah.
I think it's going to take out their support.
You say that again?
It's going to require support from other countries.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I yield back the remainder of my time.